So, what happens when an AI makes just one tiny mistake? We're not talking about some big sci fi disaster here, just a simple error. But as we're about to see through a really fascinating computer simulation, that one little slip up can have a huge impact on our trust. Our story kicks off in a very real place, Davis Square. A prototype AI tool was given what seems like a pretty simple task: just analyze a picture of this busy intersection. Straightforward enough, right? Well, here's where it gets interesting. The AI looked at the photo and said, 5 roads. But a local resident quickly chimed in and said, nope, there are actually 6. It was a small error, for sure, but that single wrong number was the spark that ignited a whole firestorm of debate. And that's a great question, isn't it? How could something so seemingly minor blow up into this huge online argument about the reliability and the future of AI in our communities? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, let's dive right into this. First, we really need to understand the real-world incident that became the inspiration for this entire simulation. So when the AI got the road count wrong, the community basically split right down the middle. You had the skeptics, who saw it as proof that AI just isn't ready for prime time, but then you had the supporters, including the developer, arguing that, hey, despite a few little flaws, the tool still had huge potential. And this is where things really started to snowball. This online debate got so interesting that it actually caught the eye of some researchers. They saw a perfect case study in how public trust in AI is formed and, how easily it can be broken. To really understand the dynamics of this whole debate, they built what's called an agent-based model. The best way to think of it is like a digital sandbox. They created a virtual community of 50 individuals, or agents, and programmed them to act just like the people in that social media thread. Some were skeptical, some were supportive, and some were just neutral. Now, this is where things get really cool. The beauty of this kind of simulation is that it's basically a what-if machine. We can recreate the original event, and then we can start to change the variables to see what might have happened instead. So, first things first, they had to set the scene. They looked at the actual comments from the online debate and programmed the models so that about 35% of their virtual community members started out as skeptical of AI, just to mirror the real-life critics. Next, they had to quantify the damage of that one mistake. I mean, how much does trust actually drop when someone sees the AI is wrong? Well, based on the negative tone of the comments, they set this value to a drop of 0.25 on a scale from 0 to 1. That's a pretty significant hit. But hey, it's not all bad news. The model also accounted for recovery. When the developer stepped into the conversation to offer explanations and talk about other uses for the tool, trust could slowly be rebuilt. The simulation modeled this healing process too. So after all that, what did this digital sandbox actually teach us? By running all these different scenarios, the researchers were able to isolate the real impact of that one wrong number. And this is where it gets really powerful. The researchers could now ask that huge what-if question. What would have happened to the community's perception if the AI had just correctly counted all 6 roads right from the very beginning? And wow, this slide just lays it all out. It perfectly illustrates the cost of that one mistake. On the left, you see reality. Perception of the tool's usefulness took a total nosedive after the error. But on the right, in a world with no error, that perception just grows steadily. That dip is the price you pay for a single mistake. Let's go back to that number for a second, 0.25. This was the trust decay factor that they programmed into the simulation. It represents the immediate, quantifiable damage that's done each and every time a virtual person realizes the AI messed up. And you can literally see that 0.25 drop in action right here. The blue line shows what actually happened. Right around time step 15, when the error gets discovered, you see that sharp dip. That's the cost of broken trust, visualized. And the final results, well, they make it even clearer. In the baseline scenario, the one that mimics reality, the final trust level was 0.72. But with no AI error, it was much higher at 0.81. And get this, if the community was more skeptical to begin with, that error was even more damaging, with trust ending up at just 0.51. So let's zoom out here. This isn't just a story about a traffic intersection in one town. It's a critical lesson about the fragile nature of our trust in the AI systems that are becoming more and more a part of our world every day. If there's one key takeaway from this entire simulation, it's this: errors hurt more than explanations help.
The damage from a single mistake is sharp and it's immediate. The recovery, on the other hand, is slow and gradual. It's a real uphill battle. This is such vital information for so many different people. For the developers building these tools, it's a huge warning about deploying things too early. For urban planners and community leaders, it's a guide for how to introduce new technology. And really, it's a lesson for all of us about how we perceive and interact with AI.
Which really leaves us with one final, crucial question. We know AI is going to make mistakes. That's just a given. The real question is, are we prepared for the cost?